All right, folks, this is Marco Palmero, and in this video, I want to share with you how to find businesses for sale and how you can create a predictable system that will find businesses for sale on your behalf. And I want to share this because I spoke with so many people that are looking at assets or they want to buy a small business, and they stumble across an issue and they don't realize they even have a problem. And so I wanted to kind of like break things down for them and potentially for you so that you can have clarity on what the real issue is when you look for businesses for sale, and how you can solve that issue so that you can ultimately find more deals in a short period of time. Now, what is the issue that a lot of these people struggle with? Well, many times I have conversations with either entrepreneurs, search funds, or small teams that want to acquire a business that have been searching for a long period of time, 6, 9, 12 months, maybe even more than that. And they all come up with different reasons why they haven't found the right fit yet, right? They might say the businesses that we looked at weren't good enough. We submitted some LOIs that didn't go through, or we had some offers on the table that ended up being bad deals, so we had to pass on them. Now, all these things might be fair points, but they're actually justifications for not having a solid enough deal flow pipeline that can bring you the opportunities that you need when you need it. And I think the main issue that a lot of these people are facing is not realizing how valuable their time is and how much time they're actually wasting chasing the wrong opportunities simply because they don't know what they don't know. In most cases, they go about finding deals the same way many other people do, and therefore they get the same results. And as you can imagine, not a lot of people get the good deals, right? And so I want to ask you this question: how much is it costing you not knowing what you don't know? I mean, how much time have you allocated towards deals that actually aren't worth buying, or transactions that ended up being bad and just time consuming processes for you? Many people face that issue, but they try to hide behind the fact that this is just a process. This is just uh, how business acquisition looks like. And it is supposed to be a long period of time before you actually nail down a transaction that is actually worth buying. The reality of it is that those things are not true, especially if you have a pipeline that is strong enough to supply you with all the deals that you need when you need them, so that independently of the outcomes of some of these transactions, you're always going to have a good deal that you can work on. Therefore, you're going to shorten the time frame necessary to close one, and you're going to increase the likelihood that you're going to close a deal, because the more transactions you have, the higher the probability that one of them is going to close in the end. And so many people, again, keep repeating the same mistakes, and they end up realizing after 6, 9, 12 months that they wasted a lot of time, and now they don't know what is it that is working and what is it that is not working. And it is actually funny to see that they are stuck into that mindset of keep doing things in the same way, just thinking that time will solve things in one shape, manner, or form. But in reality, they're just going to keep getting the same results, and they're going to keep making the same mistakes, and therefore they're not going to get the deal that they want. Now, why do I say all this? Well, because over time, we source deals for big companies, small companies, different countries, different geographies, different sectors, and we collected a lot of data around this. We ultimately came up with the conclusion that there are similarities between industries, although you might need to adapt your strategy depending on the type of prospect that you're reaching out to. But the point is, there are some key principles that you can apply when finding businesses for sale, and you can deploy them basically in any market, in any industry. And that's what I want to share with you. Now, the important aspect of this is that as we source deals, we also realize some people might only need guidance, and that's why I'm recording these resources. And they're going to be more of that, that can actually show how we dig deeper into this and show people how to build the infrastructure by themselves, so that they can then acquire the know-how that they're missing to find deals. And if you're interested in that, check the link below. There's going to be more information on how you can, take advantage of these resources. But how is it that you can identify good businesses for sale without wasting a lot of time and without wasting the most precious resource that you have, which is, of course, the time? Now, the first and most important aspect is the data part. Too many people make the mistake of thinking that subscribing to the right database or to the right data pool is going to solve all their issues. The truth is, that is not true, especially when you're dealing with databases that are oversaturated with people that are trying to do the exact same thing that you want to do. Chances are these businesses are going to be, reached out many times, and people are going to touch these leads many times. So you're going to end up in a situation where you're basically reaching out to prospects that already have a lot of different buyers that want to talk to them. They might be less keen to have a conversation with you, and they're ultimately going to be less quality leads. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't leverage platforms. To some extent, we leverage platforms as well when we do our own searches. But I would say that shouldn't be your only data collection point. You should also go outside of that, I would say off market, outside of the internet, and try to find businesses that might not have a strong digital presence, and then contact with the owners, get in contact with the owners, so that you can find these hidden gems that many people don't find simply because they're too lazy to look outside of the database that already has all the data, organized for them. Now, that is not only advantageous because you're going to find deals that are less crowded, so to speak, but also because you can save potentially, 20, 30 grand of subscription on databases. I don't know how much they charge for those subscriptions. Some of them are even not useful from my perspective, because they have data that is helpful for a private equity group or a VC looking to invest in a startup, not for people that want to buy a business, or they want a business that is kind of like a mom and pop shop that has been built from one family and never had outside investment. So many people get sold on an idea and on data that actually isn't what they need, and it isn't going to fulfill their needs. And that's the first issue. Going outside of that helps you really enhance the quality of the deal flow. It takes more effort to find deals, to find the contact information of the prospects, but then you're gonna have a much easier time connecting with them and getting your point across. So that is the first aspect, the data part. Now, again, how much is it costing you not knowing how to get data in different ways, how to organize that and streamline that process so that you don't have to waste time collecting the data yourself, but you have a system in place that does it for you and that ultimately creates this pipeline on your behalf? How much is it costing you knowing how to do that? That's the first point. Now, once you have the data, how do you reach out to these prospects? Because many people think there's the way to reach out to people, to do outreach to business owners. Many believe in calls, many believe in emails, many believe in letters. My perspective after sourcing deals across geographies, across countries, and across sectors is that the answer is in the middle. It's a combination of many things. And anybody pitching or preaching that there's one cookie cutter solution for any model is actually wrong. So there are similarities, as I said in the beginning, to different industries and different markets, but you still need to combine multiple channels together, create an ecosystem for finding deals, and then leverage that ecosystem so that you can identify these deals and ultimately nurture all these prospects that might not be ready to take action right now. Too many underestimate the power of following up consistently and keeping the least warm, so to speak, because selling a business is a big decision. There are going to be people that are going to be ready the moment you reach out to them because they decided they want to sell the business. They were ready, they were preparing for an exit, and many different reasons that I'm not going to go into in the video. But many others might never thought of selling the business in the first place. And you just um, gave them an idea the first time you reach out to them. Now, these people might be quality prospects 40, 80, 120 days down the road, but you're never going to know that if you don't have a consistent follow-up system to keep track of what's happening with them, and you're kind of like building a relationship so that you're the first person they reach out to once they are ready to take action. And what happens then is many people do the outreach or connect with business owners that might have an interest in selling. Then they never reconnect with them. These people think about it. They realize it's time for them to exit, and they end up going down the sale process with another party that reaches out to them, 50, 60 days later. So you basically gave them the idea. You sold them on the idea that it was right for them to sell the business. It was the right time. And then somebody else took advantage of that because you weren't capable enough to do the follow up and keep these people in the loop so that they would want to, go with you once they were ready to take the next step. That is a tremendous mistake, and it loses actually a lot of the effort that people make when trying to find businesses for sale. And this, I think, it's part of the fact that people are maybe short-sighted about it, and so they don't realize that a lot of people might make the decision later down the line, and therefore they only chase that business owner that's going to be ready right now without realizing cultivating the pipeline is actually something that can be very beneficial for them. So again, asking you the same question: how much is it costing you not knowing how to build this pipeline correctly, how to create a system that leverages multiple channels for outreach, email, social media, SMS, letter, whatever you, that work together in synchronicity, so to speak, to not only find you the prospects that are ready right now, but to qualify and nurture the people that might be ready later. How much is it costing you not knowing how to do that? Now, when we find deals on behalf of people, that is much easier for them, right? Because they don't need to worry about all of this. We take care of all the aspects on their behalf. Now, a lot of them might not have the necessity of having somebody else do the work for them. They might just say, we want to learn how to do things. We want to take the know-how and build it into our own team so that we can scale our acquisition system and not only buy maybe one business, but buy more. And that's, something that we are taking care of right now. We're creating a kind of like system that can be deployed into your own business so that you acquire the know-how from us, all the knowledge, the skill set, and you get guidance so that you can then execute and build these infrastructure for you. And you can find deals on autopilot. You can create systems that find you deals so that you allocate the time towards closing instead of searching. And that is basically something that can be leveraged by people without having to rely on a third party like us when it comes to sourcing. So they just borrow the know-how, they acquire it, then they have it forever. And once they have it, they can leverage indefinitely and can get a crazy ROI on that. That's something that we're working on right now to potentially give it to the people that are interested in it. And if you're one of them, check the link below. There's going to be some guidance on how to get access to that support, that training in those call sessions where we're going to go through your process and analyze what is it that you're doing wrong and finding deals, and we're going to actually show you how to build a pipeline that works, that can deliver transactions to you. So building up the right pipeline is this second step, multiple channels and all these sorts of things. Now, then it comes the qualification part of things, and that's another aspect that people don't focus a lot, or they focus too much attention on. The qualification process is sometimes uh, too rigid from my perspective, because many don't realize that it takes time to build a relationship around a sale, especially if the prospect isn't one that is ready to take action right now. And you can clearly tell that after meeting with a seller a couple times, if it is that person that really matured the decision of exiting the business and is ready to take action immediately, or if somebody that he's ready, has a pain that he wants to solve, kind of like an issue that he wants to solve by exiting the business, but he hasn't gone through all the emotions and he hasn't gone through the process of realizing that is actually what he needs to do right now. Many put all these sellers in the same bucket and they just disqualify all the ones that are not ready right now, and they just focus on the hot leads. There's some downsides to it, because one, you're choking your pipeline from the very beginning and you're just focusing on the super motivated prospects, which is fair. But if those prospects don't close for one reason or another, because you find out skeletons in the business, the deal for whatever reason turns out to be not good, you're unable to finance if you're financing the deals, then you're left with very little, because you just focused on a few transactions and you haven't cultivated those relationships that might have been good deals later in the process. And that gets back to my point about building a pipeline that is big enough and good enough so that even if something goes wrong in the process of analyzing and closing a deal, you still have backup. Most people don't do that. They just focus on what they feel is the exact fit for them, and they waste deals that might be very good for them. And true to be said, and this is my perspective, there's never a perfect deal. Most people look for the perfect deal, but that is hardly the case. There are going to be compromises, and of course, there are going to be things that you cannot compromise on. But nevertheless, no deal is perfect. And if you're operating on the mindset that you need to find a perfect deal, you're going to be with these people that I just mentioned that come to me after 9, 12, 18 months and they say, well, we searched for a long time. We haven't found what we wanted to find, and we're stuck in the process. We don't know what's not working. In most cases, it might be one of the two things that I just mentioned: data, how you build a pipeline, but also in some cases, how you filter deals, and how you qualify prospects, and how you also continue the interaction with people that might not be hot leads right now. And so, again, how much is it costing you not knowing how to filter prospects in the right way and how to keep the ones that might be good leads in the loop so that you can ultimately have them available if something goes wrong for whatever reason. Now, all these aspects that I discussed are taking a lot of time out of the closing process, which is something that I don't cover in this video. Certainly, you're going to have professionals that can help you with that, legal, accounting teams. And if you don't, we also have guidance on that. We provide guidance on that, on who to pick and why to pick it. But the point I'm getting at is, if you're taking a lot of time away from actually analyzing the business that you want to buy and doing due diligence on targets that you want to purchase, or negotiating the financing in case you want to finance the deal, then you're sacrificing high ROI activities for activities that are important, but are not the ones that are going to generate the deal for you. So the sourcing part is certainly key, but it is something that you should have nailed down, and you shouldn't consume 80% of your time. In most cases, I talk with people that, we're spending a lot of time on originating deals and they weren't even getting the results that they were expecting. So some of them said, I've been at this for 8 weeks. I spoke with 4 businesses. None of them were good. Others said, I've been at this for 2 months. I spoke with 6 businesses and none of them, were good deals for me. Others said, I have been at this for 5 months. I submitted 6 LOIs. All of them fell apart immediately. So can you see that if you're in that situation, that something is really broken in the system, that you're basically spending a lot of your time and resources in finding businesses, and then you need to take all the other steps that are structuring the deals, looking at the business, making sure everything is right, negotiating financing if you do that, and then structuring the purchase agreement. All these things you haven't even done yet. And so you are allocating all your time towards something that is just the first step towards closing a deal. And you're not even realizing that there are simple changes that you could make that can make that process much smoother and allow you to free up a lot of your time to ultimately focus your attention on negotiating the good deals, talking with business owners that want to, transition and sell the business, and ultimately work on the financing part, right? So again, if you have been stuck in that process, it has been a long time. You went through sourcing, haven't been able to find the right deal, or haven't found enough transactions, or submitted some LOIs that fell apart. Really ask yourself, is there something that I'm not doing right in my sourcing process? And is there a way for me to fix it? Now, if you can understand it by yourself, that's great. But chances are, if you've been 6, 9, 12 months down the line, you haven't figured how to do this correctly. And maybe there's something that we can do to help you out. And that is not necessarily sourcing deals on your behalf. It might be just be sharing with you the knowledge that we collected over time, so that you can then build the systems in the right way, automate these processes, and create a pipeline that generates the deals for you, so that you can ultimately free up your time, get back on track, and start negotiating deals and closing deals instead of finding them. That's really what you should focus all your attention on, because despite the fact the transaction cycle when it comes to buying a business can be quite long, people don't account for the fact that there is a portion of time that is allocated towards sourcing, another portion that is allocated towards negotiating and closing the deal. That second part is long enough, and you don't need to make it longer by wasting time sourcing deals that aren't good, that aren't going to close, that aren't going to be good LOIs. You should try to focus all your attention, at least based on my perspective, in getting as many good deals as possible into your pipeline, so that you can then focus all your attention on the second part, which is going to have some technical time that you need to go through, the due diligence, the financing and stuff that you cannot change. So you cannot affect that second part of the process, which is getting the deal nailed down and hammered down. But what you can change is the speed at which you source opportunities, you filter the opportunities, you qualify deals, in the amount of prospects that you get in the pipeline within that unit of time, because that can really accelerate the process of getting deals across the goal line. Not only because you can work on multiple of them at the same time, but because you can find the good ones faster. And so that's really what we help people with, not only when we source deals on their behalf, and so we do the sourcing and we provide them the targets or the calls or the booked meetings, whatever, but also when we share just the know-how and we provide them guidance on how to build this infrastructure, basically sharing what has worked for us, what has worked for other companies we work with, big groups that source deals in Middle East, Europe, North America, small companies that we're looking at, tiny businesses, 500K to 5 million, anything applies. The point is getting the system nailed down correctly, and then having you or your team transition to the second part of the equation, which is the negotiations and closing of the deals instead of the finding. So if you're facing some of these challenges, there's going to be a link below. You can click it, access our calendar, where you can book a time to see how we can support you with this, either by direct sourcing or providing you with the trainings in the coaching sessions, so that you can solve your problem, address your issues, and ultimately find these deals predictably. We had people find anything from 15 to 30 opportunities per month, up to 50 or 60, depending on where they were located, the type of industry they were targeting, and so forth. So these systems work. It's just a matter of nailing every single step, because if something is broken in the machine, it's going to be hard to get people across and ultimately initiate the process of discussing deals. You need to nail down the data that you collect, nail down the outreach system and the nurturing part, and then also the process of filtering them, connecting with them over a call or meeting, whatever, making sure you're effective there in scheduling with people that might be skeptical in the beginning, but they still need to be followed and kind of like helped in the process so that you can then guide them through the exit. And those are things that we work on to build up systems that actually deliver deal flow. If you're interested in that, check the link below. And that's pretty much it with this for this video. We will talk in the next one. Cheers.